You know, one of the most tender truths about aging is that the world begins to look at you differently, even if inside you feel the same as always. People might see gray hair or slower steps and assume that you're somehow less capable, less aware, less strong. That perception alone can make senior women easy targets. Not because there is anything lacking in you, but because others may mistake your kindness for weakness or your patience for passivity. And yet, aging is not about losing value. It is about carrying a lifetime of wisdom in a body that has simply earned its rest. When you think about it, every line on your face is a chapter of survival. Every ache in your bones is a reminder of how many storms you have already endured. But still, it can feel unsettling when society treats you as though you are suddenly more fragile. Have you noticed how strangers sometimes speak to you with an overly sweet tone, or how salespeople try to pressure you with offers that expire today? These are not just little annoyances. They are signs that the world sees you differently now. The real question is not how to stop aging, because that is impossible, but how to move through this stage of life with eyes open, heart steady, and spirit protected. And here's the gentle truth. Awareness is your greatest shield. Not paranoia, not fear, just a calm awareness that allows you to notice when something doesn't feel right. You don't need to harden yourself against the world, but you can give yourself permission to pause, to breathe, to observe before you respond. Imagine it like carrying a lantern in the dark. You are not fighting the night, you are simply lighting your path. Perhaps it helps to ask yourself, in what moments do I feel most overlooked? And in what moments do I feel most respected? What does my body tell me when I'm in the presence of someone who may not have my best interest at heart? These questions are not meant to create fear, but to help you recognize the quiet voice of intuition that has guided you all your life. Because the truth is, aging is not about losing power. It is about learning to use it differently. Your softness is not a weakness, it is a strength, but it needs a little boundary around it, like a garden wall protecting tender flowers. Tell me, where do you live, and how does your environment shape the ways you feel either safe or vulnerable? I'd love to hear about it in the comments, because our surroundings often reveal as much about our experiences as our age itself. One of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself as you grow older is the ability to stay aware without letting fear take over your heart. Awareness is not about being suspicious of everyone or closing yourself off. It is about learning to notice the details that speak quietly but clearly. A small pause, a gentle question, a steady breath before answering. These are simple practices that protect you while keeping your natural kindness intact. I once spoke with Margaret, a warm-hearted woman of 72 from Florida. She told me about a time when a man came to her door claiming he needed to inspect her roof for free. His smile was wide, his voice practiced, and for a moment she felt pressured to let him in. But then something inside her whispered, "Wait." She told him kindly that she would need to call her son first. And just like that, the man's tone changed. He quickly excused himself and left. Margaret later laughed, not because it was funny, but because such a small phrase, "I'll need to check with my family," gave her back her sense of safety. Her story is a reminder that you don't need to raise your voice or fight. Sometimes the softest refusal is the strongest shield. This gentle kind of awareness can become part of your daily rhythm. When someone calls with an offer that sounds too urgent, pause before answering. When a stranger asks for your attention, give yourself a breath to decide whether it feels right. You might even prepare a simple phrase that you can always return to, something like, "Let me think about that," or "I'll need to talk this over with my family." These words buy you time, and time is often the difference between falling into a trap and staying safe. Notice, too, how your body speaks. Have you felt your chest tighten when someone insists you must decide right now? Or a small sense of unease when a stranger lingers too long at your doorstep? Those signals are your inner wisdom, guiding you. With age, we sometimes doubt our instincts, thinking we're being too cautious or too slow. But the truth is, your intuition has only grown sharper with years of experience. Trust it. Remember, staying aware does not mean you must live on edge. It means carrying a lantern of attentiveness so that when the shadows appear, you can see clearly without panic. And if you feel comforted by reflections like these, I invite you to subscribe so that you can continue receiving gentle guidance, small protective habits, and reminders that you are never walking this path alone. Aging does not ask you to abandon your openness. It only asks that you pair it with the wisdom you have earned. With that balance, you can continue moving through the world with warmth, but also with the quiet confidence that you know how to care for yourself. This does not mean you are incapable. It just means remembering fine details or handling rapid decisions can feel a little harder. Add to that slower reflexes or changes in hormone balance, and it becomes clear why some situations might leave you feeling a step behind. But let me tell you, none of this diminishes your wisdom. In fact, what biology shifts, experience compensates for. Still, knowing how your body works can give you an extra layer of protection. For instance, when someone explains something quickly, a contract, a new medication, a financial offer, it is perfectly natural if your mind doesn't catch every detail at once. This is not because you lack intelligence, it is because your brain needs a moment longer to process and store the information. Giving yourself permission to slow down is one of the kindest gifts you can offer yourself. Write down key details as they are spoken, even if it feels unnecessary. Repeat information back in your own words so you can hear it twice. And don't be afraid to ask people to slow their pace. Gentle phrases like, "Could you say that more slowly?" or "I'd like to make sure I have this right," are not signs of weakness. They are signs of strength, of someone who respects herself enough to move at her own rhythm. It is also worth noticing how these changes can affect your trust. When you feel unsure or forgetful, it may be tempting to lean more heavily on others, sometimes even strangers. That's natural. We are social beings, and support is vital. But the delicate balance is in remembering that a pause before trusting is not a rejection of kindness. It is simply a safeguard. Ask yourself gently, when was the last time I rushed to agree because I didn't want to appear slow? Did I ever feel embarrassed to ask for more time? These moments are not mistakes. They are signals pointing you toward new habits of self-care. Aging doesn't ask you to fight against your body. It invites you to understand it with compassion. Just as you once learned to care for your younger self through stages of growth, you can now care for your older self with patience and clarity. By respecting the way your body and brain now respond, you create space for safety, for confidence, and for a deeper sense of peace in daily life. Sometimes the changes that make you feel safer are not big, dramatic shifts, but small habits woven gently into your daily life. Think of them as little anchors that keep you steady no matter what situation you face. One of the most helpful is carrying a small card in your wallet or purse with the phone numbers of 2 or 3 trusted people you can call anytime. It may seem unnecessary in the age of smartphones, but when nerves rise or memory feels foggy, reaching for that card can be like reaching for a hand in the dark. Another habit is to create a simple rule for yourself at the door. Never open it fully to someone you don't know. Instead, keep a chain or latch on and let conversations happen through that small space. It's not about shutting the world out, it's about giving yourself a boundary, a moment of choice, before you decide whether to trust. Imagine how reassuring it would feel to know you always have that pause built in. Families can also build tiny rituals of safety together. For example, having a secret code word to use in case someone calls pretending to be a loved one. A single word known only to you and your family can protect against confusion or scams, turning a moment of uncertainty into one of clarity. And then there is the gentle rhythm of review, setting aside one day each month to go through bills, letters, and phone messages without rush. Making it a routine turns it into something calm and predictable, rather than stressful or overwhelming. You can even pair it with something you enjoy, a favorite cup of tea, a quiet piece of music, so it becomes less of a chore and more of a ritual of care. These steps are not about building walls around your life. They are about building gates that open and close when you decide. Ask yourself softly, which of these feels easiest for me to begin with? Which one brings me a sense of peace rather than pressure? Start there. You don't have to do everything at once. Aging is already teaching you the art of slowing down, and safety habits can be learned the same way, slowly, gently, one step at a time. What matters is not perfection, but consistency, like watering a plant a little each day. Over time, these small habits create a garden of safety around you, one that protects your freedom rather than limits it. And when you look back, you may find yourself surprised at how strong and natural these boundaries feel, not as burdens, but as quiet companions walking beside you. There is a quiet myth many women carry with them into later years, the belief that asking for help means losing independence. Perhaps you have felt it yourself, that hesitation to bother your children with a question, or the urge to prove you can handle everything on your own. But the truth is, receiving support is not weakness, it is a profound form of strength. It takes courage to say, "I need a hand," and it takes wisdom to recognize that life is gentler when it is shared. The real danger lies not in admitting vulnerability, but in pretending you never feel it at all. When we ignore small concerns, whether a confusing bill, a pushy color, or a nagging sense of unease, we sometimes believe that silence will protect us. Yet what often happens is the opposite. Problems grow heavier in the shadows. The simple act of speaking them aloud can dissolve much of their power. Think about the times you stayed quiet. Was it because you feared judgment, or because you didn't want to be a burden? And what if, instead of seeing yourself as a burden, you allowed yourself to be seen as a source of connection, giving your loved ones the chance to feel useful and needed? You have spent decades caring for others. Now is the season to let care flow back toward you. It may feel new, even uncomfortable at first, but slowly you discover it is not a loss of dignity, it is dignity itself, expressed through honesty. Aging invites us to rewrite the stories we have carried for so long. You are not powerless. You are not invisible. You are not someone who must suffer in silence. You are a woman whose wisdom can light the way, not just for yourself, but for those who walk beside you. And if myths have weighed you down, like the idea that strength means handling everything alone, then it is time to gently lay them aside. You can still be strong while leaning on others, still independent while opening your heart to support. So ask yourself softly, what is one small way I can let more light in? Is it calling a friend when something feels uncertain? Or telling my doctor that I need a slower explanation? Or sharing a worry with my family instead of keeping it tucked away? These questions are not meant to press you, but to guide you back to your own center, where strength and gentleness meet. Aging is not about losing your place in the world. It is about stepping into it with clearer eyes and a lighter heart. And I would love to know, what is one gentle habit you are willing to try this week to bring yourself more safety and peace? Share it in the comments so your wisdom can ripple out to others walking the same path. And if these reflections have brought you comfort, consider subscribing so you can continue receiving gentle guidance that reminds you you are never alone on this journey.